We'd never heard of anything like that back then. Personally, I think that was the wrong move. It wasn't a disaster, but Aaron Shee and I had one last hurdle to overcome. In my final week before the big move to LA, I had to wrap up some projects in Monterey County. Some still needed to be shot, others just needed to be released. Today's lesson: collaboration beats competition, especially in small creative communities. During my post-Europe summer, I did a number of things to try to be prepared to work in the film industry once I moved to LA. The first of which was I had to wrap up my final acting roles in local productions. On August 23rd, I returned to the abandoned Fort Ord barracks that I had talked about in Season 1, Episode 1, and had one final day of acting in Crisis Remnants for Kellen Gibbs, which ended up being the last day of production for Crisis as an entire series. So I was very glad I could be there before I had to leave. I was really happy to have gotten in one more day with that cast and crew. It was always so much fun working with that team. Second, I grabbed some of my favorite shots from the Carpe Diem trip and tried to cut something together as quickly as I could. But I found it difficult to decide what to show with all the content we had. I still wanted to give people a taste of what we had in store though, so on August 25th, 6 days after our production day at York School, we released what I called the Carpe Diem preview.
Her name is Julia, right? When'd she move away?
She moved here 9 months ago, and I'm surprised they stay together this long, you know.
And she's in college?
This is her second and final year in British school, and she'll be moving back to the U.S. when she graduates.
Okay, I got this. Julia, it's been forever. How's college?
Let's take it back London. What do you guys think of it?
Good women, better liquor.
So, I heard there's an awesome beach here. We should check it out.
It's not a nude beach. I'm not interested.
Soy de los Estados Unidos y tengo un problema. Where'd Jack go?
So what happened next?
It'll make more sense when we tell you the whole story.
Honestly, I don't think it really holds up to our final product that well, but at the very least, we proved we had a product on the way with some cool shots of famous monuments. The problem was there were a lot of projects releasing that day. HARA hosted a screening for the summer films that I talked about in Season 3, Episode 1, and Mike had asked me to send him a trailer for Carpe Diem so he could show it at the screening, which was a great opportunity for publicity. However, that also happened to be the exact same night that the first episode of Crisis Remnants premiered, so anyone who had been involved in both productions, or interested in local filmmakers, had to make a choice. Personally, I think that was the wrong move, and I think both would have done better if they'd happened on different days, because that unintentional scheduling overlap split our already small local audience. I didn't choose the date, and I don't think either Kellen or Michael realized the conflict until it was too late. It wasn't a disaster, but it reminded me to choose collaboration over competition unless there's a very specific reason not to. A little communication could have made each release more impactful, I think. Especially in filmmaking, working with others usually takes you a lot further than trying to outshine them. Anyway, I had a third thing to do. I got my short film Plan of Action from Season 1, Episode 4, registered on the Internet Movie Database, known as IMDb. That created a page for both the film and for me, which would become a long-running digital resume with over 100 credits added in the years to come. And I'm very glad I got so familiar with the process early on. And on August 26th, my IMDb page appeared in a Google search, showing that I had written, directed, and edited Plan of Action, and I could now prove that I was a filmmaker to anyone I needed to that had internet access. That was huge. My grandpa, Roy Hilts, who was fantastic with Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, even helped me make a poster for the film, so when someone clicked on the IMDb page, it would look more professional. You can see how many different stages of that we did before we got it the way that we wanted it. By then, my summer vacation was coming to an end. I played lacrosse with Max one last time, I hung out with a few old friends, and got ready to say goodbye to a friend group that I'd gotten close to over the years. My high school and film school adventures were over, and it was off to college. I packed the same backpack I'd taken on the Carpe Diem trip, filling it with a lot of the same clothes and toiletries I'd used overseas. But I made a specific choice to leave my Xbox 360 and Game Boy Advance back home so that I could focus on the college experience and not get distracted by video games the way I had in high school. I felt almost prepared to leave, but Erin Shee and I had one last hurdle to overcome. We had to figure out how we could both edit Carpe Diem while going to colleges in different counties. So on August 31st, the night before I left for college, Erin came over and we duplicated the footage onto 2 different external hard drives, making sure the files were absolutely identical. Then we set up a shared Dropbox folder for our Premiere Pro project. That way, we could each relink the media and keep editing quickly as long as we didn't open the file at the same time. It was a great workaround for us in an age when that type of setup was hard to come by. I mean, nowadays, cloud editing exists through DaVinci Resolve and plenty of other software, but we'd never heard of anything like that back then. So I was headed to Whittier College, as was Colin and one other friend from York School, but Erin was the only one of us going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I think that's why I chose to spend my last day in Monterey County with him. We took one last photo together, wearing old props from Ninja vs. Samurai, our very first A-Type Studios film that I talked about in Season 1, Episode 1, and I believe it was a nostalgic moment for both of us. At that point, Erin went home, and next thing I knew, my parents and I left Salinas and drove 200 miles south to a tiny town called Buttonwillow, California, with a population of only 1,500 people. We booked a room with 2 beds there for only $65. Inflation's been crazy, right? And then the next morning, they drove the other 150 miles south so I could go to college in my new home in LA County, a small city called Whittier. But you'll have to tune in next week to hear about how I ended up at a college surrounded by haunted canyons, retirement homes, and gang territory, and how that unexpected setting shaped the next chapter of my life.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Ortiz, and I'm the Dean of Students, and I want to welcome you to Whittier College. Tonight, as you get ready for orientation, I just want you to know it's going to be a fun time and you're going to get to meet a lot of new students and learn a lot about the college, and I look forward to meeting you when you arrive on campus tomorrow.